Welcome to Intellings, where we explore big ideas, groundbreaking books, and the thinkers behind them. Today, we're diving into a book that changes the way you see the world. Thinking in Systems by Donella Meadows. This book isn't just about abstract theory, it's about how systems shape everything around us, from businesses to governments, from climate change to personal habits. If you've ever felt frustrated by problems that keep repeating themselves, this episode is for you. Why should you care about systems thinking? Let's start with a real-world example. Traffic congestion. Cities around the world spend billions adding more lanes to highways, expecting to reduce congestion. But time and again, within a few years, the roads become just as clogged as before. Why? Because when driving gets easier, more people decide to drive. This is a classic reinforcing feedback loop, one of the many system behaviors that Meadows explores in her book. Thinking in systems helps us recognize these hidden structures that influence our lives. Most of the time, we see problems as isolated events, but Meadows teaches us that everything is interconnected. Whether it's an economic crash, a political crisis, or even your business struggling to grow, the underlying system is what truly determines outcomes. Meadows defines a system as an interconnected set of elements that is coherently organized in a way that achieves something. A system isn't just about individual parts, it's about how those parts interact. For instance, a car's components, engine, wheels, brakes, don't work in isolation. It's their interactions that allow the car to move. The same principle applies to economies, organizations, and even social trends. One of the book's key insights is that systems are driven by feedback loops. These loops either amplify change or maintain stability. Reinforcing loops cause exponential growth or decline. Think about social media. A video goes viral, more people share it, and suddenly it explodes in popularity. The more engagement it gets, the more it spreads. Balancing loops, on the other hand, keep things stable by resisting change. For example, if inflation rises, central banks increase interest rates to slow spending and stabilize the economy. A great example of feedback loops at work is the stock market. When prices go up, more people invest, pushing prices even higher until panic sets in and the cycle reverses. Recognizing these loops helps us anticipate and respond to major shifts. Meadows warns that many of the world's biggest problems arise when people fail to understand feedback loops. A government might try to lower housing costs by imposing rent controls, but this often discourages developers from building new properties, leading to a housing shortage. What seemed like a solution actually worsened the problem because it ignored the underlying system. One of the most powerful ideas in thinking in systems is leverage points, the places within a system where a small change can have a big impact. But not all leverage points are equally effective. For example, let's say a country has a pollution problem. A weak leverage point would be imposing fines on polluting companies. While this may reduce emissions temporarily, companies might find ways around the law or just factor in the fine as a cost of doing business. A stronger leverage point would be shifting incentives, like offering subsidies for green technology or changing how energy markets operate. Meadows outlines 12 levels of intervention, ranked from least to most effective. The highest leverage points involve changing mindsets and paradigms, because when people's beliefs change, entire systems transform. She writes, "If no paradigm is right, you can choose whatever one will help to achieve your purpose." This is why cultural shifts can be more powerful than laws. Take smoking. Government regulations played a role in reducing smoking rates, but the real game changer was the cultural shift that made smoking less socially acceptable. That's a paradigm shift in action. One of the book's most important warnings is that quick fixes often make problems worse. There's a famous example called the cobra effect. During British rule in India, officials wanted to reduce the number of cobras, so they offered a bounty for every dead one. At first, it worked, but then people started breeding cobras just to kill them for the reward. When the government realized this, they canceled the program. So the breeders released their now worthless cobras into the wild, making the problem even worse than before. This pattern repeats everywhere. Overuse of antibiotics leads to drug-resistant bacteria. Extending unemployment benefits sometimes discourages people from seeking jobs. These are all examples of systems pushing back against shallow problem solving. Meadows emphasizes that real solutions require understanding the full system, not just reacting to symptoms. If you don't address the root cause, the problem will return, often in a more severe form. Thinking in Systems has been widely praised for its clarity and real-world applications. A review on Goodreads /www.com/work/thinking-systems-a primer says, "This book is extremely approachable, and Meadows peels back the layers of systems thinking so that we can better understand and use the systems that surround us in sustainable, productive, and hopefully harmonious ways." Another reader on reddit.com/Collat comments, 1HB Kisbwelji, "I just finished reading Thinking in Systems shared. This is such a great book. This kind of analysis is extremely helpful for thinking about the complex times we live in and how to respond to them." A review by joelhooks.com/review of thinking-in-systems-primer praises the book for its ability to make systems thinking accessible to everyone, not just economists or scientists. Meadows' writing is straightforward and engaging, making complex ideas easy to grasp. She doesn't just explain systems thinking, she shows how to apply it. If you want to make smarter decisions, whether in business, government, or everyday life, this book is essential. It teaches you to look beyond surface-level problems and understand the deeper structures driving outcomes. Instead of reacting impulsively, you learn to recognize patterns, anticipate consequences, and create lasting solutions. Meadows' insights are especially valuable in today's world, where everything is interconnected. Climate change, economic inequality, supply chain disruptions, these aren't just isolated issues. They are system-wide challenges that require system-wide solutions. So, what's your biggest takeaway from this? Are there systems in your life that you now see differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments or send me a message. I'd love to discuss this further. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you next time on Intellings for more deep dives into books and ideas that shape the world.